Now, we're making this recording on, this is Monday, isn't it? Yeah. January 15th, 1968, with Mr. H.B. Sawyer and some of the things that he remembers of our town. Now, you go ahead, Mr. Sawyer, just any old thing that comes to mind that you happen to remember, things that...
Well, about the first of the Sunapee people that I'd become acquainted with was a young man nearly my age who was a son of Mose and Lucy Knowlton, Knowlton, who lived in this set of buildings. They built this place in 1888 at a cost of house, L, and barn, including basement, for $4,000. They had a son, John, who I got to be good friends with, who passed away in 1903. The only child. Now, soon after that, I've become acquainted with who was his great uncle, John P. Knowlton, who later gave the town $10,000. I've been reading his diary here.
What?
I've been reading his diary here.
Oh, you have Mr. Knowlton's diary?
Yeah.
Oh, but that's got some fascinating little information in it.
Well, you could take it and read it and see what you can get out of it. But he and I become good friends, and I'd let him drive this nice driving mat I had whenever I had errands to do at Newport, which pleased him very much. And later, he got me to take him to his wife's funeral. I drove him to the cemetery. And later, he gave the town $10,000 and later I had something to do about his estate.
Is that a picture of Mr. Knowlton that's in the town hall there?
Yeah, that's the man gave the town $10,000.
Yeah, I heard about him, yeah.
Yeah.
Quite a thing at that time for the town.
Well, it was. It was, to me, it was quite a thing because the select men, about 2/3 of that was negotiable securities. About $7,000 or $8,000, which was quite a bit of money at that time.
I'll say.
The select men brought it down to me because I was town treasurer.
Yeah.
And well, the only thing I could think of was to get it into the bank as soon as I could. And I had a general store then. And so I took my driving mare and took that money, and I had it in the bank in about 20 minutes. So that took care of that. Still the general store.
You had the general store?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where opposite Shepherd down there now. That was the old Knowlton store that used to set up on the hill near where Osborne and Slattery live now, moved down to its present location.
They moved that whole building?
Yeah, but of course it's been added onto since then. The old timbers are right in there now. That were moved down. went on as usual. The hame shop was running and employing about 200 men. Bartlett and Rowell and the U.S. Hame Company at that time, I guess it was Bartlett and Rowell, later was the U.S. Hame Company, and moved to Buffalo, New York, finally. The mill was running.
Trowell's Mill?
Trowell's Mill.
Yeah. Is that over where it is now?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. That's been there since way back around 1900?
Yeah.
Does it run from the water in the brook? Did it at that time, or?
Water in Sugar River.
Sugar River, yeah.
There was also Alexander and Perkins, who manufactured rakes, and the company is still going. Onyx Alexander and Son, and they also manufacture crutches and many other things now.
Are they still up here?
Down there at the Low Village.
Pardon?
Down to Low Village.
I'd never noticed them.
They're on the left, on the old road, not the new road, but the road to the Low Village.
I have seen that mill and thought I'd like to take a walk in there sometime.
Well, they do some nice work.
What do they do the most part? Always did the same thing?
Well, they manufacture crutches now and rakes.
In that lumber mill?
Yeah, lawn and garden rakes. Quite a few things. You should go through it and see what they do manufacture. Then there was Young and Rowell, who run a sawmill. Things went along about as usual till he got up to about 1910. I bought the livery stable.
You bought the livery stable?
Yeah.
Oh.
And
Was that the one here that's now the town hall? Or?
Yeah. Used to be the fire station till they built a fire station. But this is about 1912. Of course, there was no trucks or pleasure cars at that time of any amount, and very few boats on the lake. At that time, I had 24 horses over in this stable right over here.
24?
24 livery horses. You could hire a team with the top buggies to go to Newport for $1.
A Newport and back for $1?
Yeah. Yeah. I had a big 4-horse sled built that I'd put 4 horses on, and I could take 24 people. And we went to New London one night, and it was kind of a winter thaw. And rained a little on the way over. There's probably 1.5 feet of ice under us. And when we got to coming back, it had turned warm and it was foggy. And what a lot of people don't remember, I don't know about, in the winter time, the farmers around different parts of the lake would have a road picked out and would set up trees in the ice as tall as this room, 10 feet tall, more or less. And they'd freeze in. That'd be their guide in case there was fog or a snowstorm. I've seen it snowing so hard out that you couldn't see ashore anywhere. And the lake's 10 miles long and 3 miles wide. Well, we come onto this lake this night, coming home from the Oddfellows meeting at New London, we got out a little ways and we couldn't see a tree and we couldn't see nothing. And 4 horses, and you couldn't tell where you was going. And at that time there's no electric refrigeration, and everybody cut ice for an ice refrigerator. And there's places all along each shore, nearly around the lake, where somebody'd cut out a chunk of ice to fill their ice house. Well, we come a little ways and we couldn't see a tree and we couldn't see nothing. Well, I always had 3 lanterns on this big sled, and 2 men took a lantern and went in one direction, 2 other men took another lantern and went the other direction, until they found the trees. And they hollered, and then we waited till the other 2 men come in, and we started for home. And that's the only way we did get home. And we come on to the lake about 1 o'clock over to Sunapee Park, and when I got home, I always took a trip around the village to let the men off as near the home as I could. And I was back in the sled in when the 5:30 whistle blew, which did every morning to wake up the workmen. They went to work then at 7 o'clock. And this night, we come on, and we just couldn't see anything at all. And on account of the fog, and the road was all washed out entirely. Couldn't see a tree nor nothing. So we got home from that scrape all right. That brought us up to perhaps 1912 or something like that. And in a little while, automobiles commenced to come. And of course, the more automobiles come, the more the horses went out.
Yeah.
And from 1912, with 24 horses, we went down 3 horses each year. 1915, we had 21, and 3 horses less each year till it got down to 3 horses. Finally, about 1915 or 16, that's all they had is 3 livery horses, and nothing much for them to do. Everybody had an automobile of some kind, Model T Fords and every other kind. And that was the size of the livery business. It just went away. Now the business in town, the ham shop finally went away in 1915, 16, I should think.
Well, they moved just away or out of business because of the lack of horses.
They went to a business put near because the horse business, the ham business, had put near gone. They went and they run the ham business at Buffalo, New York, a few years after that. And I guess they went into some other business and done some business some time. But that was about the end of the livery business, the livery stable business. I don't know what... It didn't affect us too much. That was when?
1970. Yeah, oh yeah, that's right. It was as late as that. I was thinking around the World War I started in Europe, of course, around 1914. But
we didn't feel it much till about 1918, did we?
Pardon?
We didn't feel it much till about 1918, did we?
You still had summer visitors. And
Oh, we've had summer visitors
That's been...
increasing all the time from 1900 on. And we get an increase now. We used to have summer visitors. Now we get summer and winter. Skiers come up here to ski over on the mountain. And we get fairly good business out of the ski business. I don't know what did they?
When did Grand Leadon start? When was that built?
About 1903, 4, 5, along in there.
Yeah.
I used to go up there with a load of groceries with one horse in the old set of buildings before the Grand Leadon Hotel was built. I think the Grand Leadon Hotel was built in 1905.
There was something there before that?
Oh, yes.
Oh.
A little old farmhouse.
Oh, I see.
Mrs. Manning run it it was owned by the Koval sisters, Carrie and Annie Koval. Carrie and Annie Koval.
Oh, yeah.
And Dr. Nielsen done the business for them and looked after it. And Grand Leadon was built about 1905. And that's the year Porter Young changed over from horses to wagons, from wheels to sleds.
Oh, yes, yeah.
The year 1905, the winter of 1905. He changed over 5 times, and that's the year they were building that. George Dyer was the contractor who really built it, did the work. He wasn't the architect. It was Sanger who was the architect. I think it was Sanger. I'm quite sure it was. But George Dyer was the boss on the job. And then W. Brown was going to run it that summer, and he come here, and he set things going. I don't know whatever become of him. I'd like to know, because he and I were good friends.
Oh.
And he started things going when he got here. And the Grand Leadon had at one time, I think, more than 200 guests. Yeah.
It was a sizable operation.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Did they always have a sheriff department or something up here? Or you now have a police chief. And, I saw an interesting note in one of the older town reports. So much money was spent supporting, paying for the board and room of a prisoner. Where would they keep a prisoner?
Well, they used to have a tramp house partway down the Lower Village.
A tramp house?
Yeah. And somebody, forgotten who, would feed them for $1 a day.
I see, yeah.
Take them some food if they stayed 3 meals. But if they come there and just stayed overnight, they'd give them something to eat for supper they could live on. Yeah.
I think I saw a picture, too, of some building that I don't know was down at the Lower Village, in which had several stories, and there was a long stairway down. A lot of girls roomed in it. Or did girls room in it for... I wish I could remember. I'll see the picture later, but as though I don't know whether they were waitresses for some lodge or worked in a factory. There was a lot of girls all standing on the steps up to the top. There's an old picture.
It used to be opposite what was later the Sunapee Inn, what they call a paste factory.
Paste?
Yeah. Where they made paste to
Oh,
paste soles to shoes. And there was about a dozen girls worked there, I think. Way back at one
yeah,
time.
this was quite a ways.
Yeah. Before I come to Sunapee even.
Oh,
Before 1900.
Lower Village, probably.
Yeah. At the Low Village, right opposite what was later the Sunapee Inn.
The town really started down there at the Lower Village.
Started over to South Sunapee.
South Sunapee?
Yeah. What is now South Sunapee.
Where would that be to me, a stranger?
Well, over towards Mount Sunapee.
Oh, yeah.
In the,
There's a little section of the Sunapee called Mount Sunapee over there, isn't there?
that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
How'd that get called Mount Sunapee? It's separate from Sunapee itself.
well, it's over towards the mountain where the ski lodges are now. Where most of the ski lodges are. Well, that brings us up to something like 1915 or 18. The Haim shop went away about 1920, I should think. But the business over at the mountain started, the ski business started somewhere near that time. And that sort of took the place of the Haim shop.
People found work over there.
Well, the guests over at the
Pardon?
got the guests that come here to ski over at the mountain.
Oh, I see, yeah. Gave them,
Gave some business to the townspeople here.
yes, the town would feel the loss of a shop like that.
Oh, you betcha. Yeah, you betcha. Well, they put the water system in here, and we got a good water system. Put in about 1903, I think. They pumped the water out of the lake to a big reservoir up on the hill up here. And gives us about 100 pounds pressure right here. Down to Low Village, it's about 120 pounds pressure, I think. We've got an excellent water system. One of the best, and it's sufficient. That is, it's inexhaustible, you might say.
Yeah, yeah.
Because you got the whole of Sunapee Lake behind us.
Yeah.
But if the pumps run, and they do, they could pump it. I think they can pump it 3 ways now. By electricity, water power, and steam power. I think so. So we got a water supply.
That little old church down here in the Lower Village, that's been here a long time? Right down here at the intersection, I've seen the crossroads there.
That's the Methodist
I
church.
guess it is, yeah.
That's been here ever since I've been here, yes. Been here a long time.
Which is probably one of the oldest buildings in the town that you know of.
I wouldn't wonder. Yeah, it was right there when I came in 1900. And it wasn't a new church then. I think they burned down once and rebuilt.
They have bets on when this ice is going to go out. Every year I've seen down at the town hall here a chart lists the time, and I understand there's some heavy wages at times on just when that's going to go.
That's right.
Always been a selectman. Was there about 3 as it is now?
Yeah.
How much larger population-wise, would you say the town is now? 2, 3 times bigger than when you came, or seem more than that?
I guess that's about right.
Certainly a pretty town.
Well, it's a nice, clean town with this water supply makes it inexhaustible water supply, I should call it.
Yeah, as long as they can make the people around the lake keep that water clean.
The state helps do that.
Yeah.
No sewage goes into lake.
No.
None at all. None at all.
Were you always either in the grocery business or running a livery stable, or was there much lumbering here? Have you seen much take place? I would think, or perhaps it was all cut over by the time 1900s.
Well, when you get up into 1930 or 40, the lumber around here had been pretty well cut off.
Mm-hmm.
The Emerson Paper Company used to own lumber lots all around this watershed, you might call it, all around the lake. And they did a lot of lumbering. They'd haul the logs onto the lake in the wintertime, big rafts of them, 200,000-300,000 feet, and put a boom around them.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And then when the ice went out in the spring, of course the logs are all in the water. And they'd run them down the river out here, down to where the pulp mill was.
Right through the town here?
Right behind the hotel there.
Oh, yeah.
And there was a pulp mill where the pumping station is now.
Oh, yeah.
And they were ground up, sawed up, and ground up into blocks about 2 feet long, and carted down to the paper mill, to the pulp mill. That was the sawmill. Down to the pulp mill, down under the hill, and ground up there into pulp. And this Porter Young, who done the freighting, or whoever it was doing the freighting, that pulp was carted from down under the hill where the old pumping station is now, down to Sunapee Depot, where the paper mill was. Made into paper there, and shipped away, or used.
Emerson Paper Company.
Emerson Paper Company.
Oh, there were a lot more farms back in the 40s. I noticed, like when the land that we bought, it looks as though all around it had once been all pasture. You can tell it's been going back because it's full of little, the woods, so-called, and nothing but little tiny saplings, about 2-3 inches diameter. And that probably was all, at one time, farmland. I'm up back at Dexter's. I don't know. There's a little private graveyard over there. A family that was interesting gravestones. They were back in the Civil War time.
Is that what they call the Cooper Yard?
I don't know. I don't know it well enough. Was a captain in the New Hampshire, some regiment that went into the Civil War.
Yeah.
And there's a grave of his in there. Fascinating little graveyard. I'd like to know the story on that family. They must have been here a long time.
Yeah.
But, in a way, I hate to see all those pastures growing in, but I guess the way people are coming, it'll be all cleaned out again.
Well, it's hard to tell what the future will do to this country. Not only in Sunapee, but many other places.
You know.
Do you say you live in town?
Well, we have built a place up back of Dexter's on that hill there that used to be. Yeah, Mr. Harrison. He said At one time, their family owned it or had something to do with it, and that was called the South 10-acre pasture or something,
Could be.
which we now have. And beautiful spot up there.
That's up back of Dexter's place?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a well that's been on that property for over 75 years, as far as Mr. Harrison could remember. He says as a boy he remembers him digging it. It was so deep that in the middle of the day, when he was down at the bottom of it and it was daylight, he remembers looking out and you could see the stars in the sky when you're down in a black place like a well. He was quite surprised. I was. I never knew that you could do that either. That old well is still there. Not much use, but we had to dig one of our own beside it. Town water go very far around here?
Well, I can't tell you how many miles of pipe they've got, but they keep extending it a little each year, usually.
Oh, they had horse-drawn fire trucks in those old days too, didn't they?
Yeah.
You know, they have much. I should think they'd have a problem getting up some of these hills. They have those burners. They shovel coal in steam pumps. Or was it pretty much a hand-operated rigs that?
I think they've got the old hand pumper that they had here years ago.
You think it's still around?
They think the fire department has it now.
I'd like to get a picture of that. Put in the.
God, I think it's right over in this building over here.
Oh.
I think so. I think the names are on some of the stables, some of the stalls over there where I had different horses, down one flight below the street level.
Oh yes.